Welcome to the Skip and Shannon Undisputed podcast. I'm Joy Taylor. You can catch us Monday through Friday at 9:30 a.m. Eastern, 6:30 Pacific on FS1. Here's what this podcast is all about. It's an unscripted, unfiltered, undisputed version of the day's show, and there is a lot to get into in today's podcast. Shannon questions why his guy Eli Manning, a man who has made over $200 million in his career, would risk his reputation with an alleged scandal for a couple $1,000. The Warriors are the clear favorite to win the NBA title, so we invite Fox Sports NBA analyst Chris Broussard to break down why he is picking Golden State to win it all. Meta World Peace is in the house, and he has some words of support for his former coach Phil Jackson, and also talks a little Lakers. And keeping it on the hardwood, we might be looking at some Mountain Dew on the line as Skip and Shannon break down their NBA playoff predictions. All black today, Skip? Well, I got a little Johnny Cash going today.
Yeah.
I like it.
I didn't even notice what I put on. Oh, I got on all black. Wow.
Oh, you didn't notice.
What, is that a Ted Baker suit?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a Ted Baker dress on. See, so you are. There we go, right in the middle.
Did you call each other?
Do I throw up now or after the show?
You know what?
Oh, you got a Ted Baker?
I think we're all ready for the show. Let's get it started in the NFL. A lawsuit filed 3 years ago by sports memorabilia collectors claim Eli Manning, the New York Giants, and a team equipment manager knowingly provided false game-worn memorabilia to collectors. Manning turned over an email that was sent to the Giants' head equipment manager back in 2010 that asked for, quote, 2 helmets that can pass as game used. According to ESPN, the email was included with up to 200 pages of documents linking Manning to the lawsuit. Skip, what's your reaction?
Whew. Shannon, when I first saw this story last night, the Eli story, the Eli part of it, I thought, oh, that's interesting. I hadn't heard anything about that. And then I started to read, and I kept reading, and I read more, and I read more, and I read more this morning. And the more I read, the worse it got. And I'm shocked that this lawsuit flew completely under the radar for about 3 years, because it was filed all the way back in late January of 2014 ahead of the Peyton Manning versus Seahawks Super Bowl, which happened to be played
in
the
Eli's house.
Stadium. Yeah, in that very stadium, occupied by the flagship cornerstone New York football Giants,
Correct.
Based in New York City, or at least the New York area. This is in New Jersey, obviously. But if half of this is true, and to me, a whole lot of it rings very true. This is just me from a distance. This was a cesspool inside a proud franchise. This was a cesspool of fraudulent merchandise or memorabilia sales. And it was signed off on and overseen by the Giants management going all the way to the top of the franchise. It was an internal in-house racket that has gone on for many years, that started before Eli's rookie year back in 2004, because he fell right into it. And man, what a terrible look for the National Football League. So I'm going to cut right to the chase here. We'll detail all the allegations, but this should be punished to me. And again, it doesn't affect your on-field performance, but does this not tarnish the shield, as they say? Is this not conduct unbecoming to the National Football League? I know it doesn't involve players per se. It's off the field allegations, right? But what's the difference in this and players getting in trouble off the field in nightclubs or with guns or whatever, domestic violence or whatever? Is it all that different to you? I mean... Yeah,
Skip, this would be a very slippery slope if the NFL were to get involved in this. It would be almost like a marketing arm of a team and the NFL getting involved with this, because this is Eli and the Giants organization dealing with memorabilia. The NFL should not be in. Okay. I'm going to disagree with you on that. I don't think the NFL should be involved.
So nothing's going to become of this if you're right about this. It'll just get swept under the carpet, which really, it outrages me, frankly. But the reason this came to light is that an email was leaked involving the quarterback, Eli Manning. And now all of a sudden you got their attention because, wait a second, Eli signed off on all this? We got all sorts of phony Eli memorabilia. We got a helmet from the 2008 Super Bowl that's in Canton, Ohio, that is this lawsuit alleges is fake. And we got several other Eli helmets and game jerseys and a helmet from his rookie season. We got all kinds of fakes out there on the market. And Eli could certainly argue that this is just the way they did business. And so he got swept up in how they did business because there was a Strahan jersey that's out there that's fraudulent. So there are other players who participated, but he knowingly did participate. And so is this potentially going to tarnish the squeaky clean image of one Eli Manning? Yeah, I think it's got potential. And by the way, his big brother got tarnished with all of his controversies back at the University of Tennessee, which came out after the Super Bowl, was focused upon in light of Cam Newton versus Peyton in the Super Bowl. But in this case, just so people get this all started back with a sports collector named Eric Inselberg, who was actually an official business partner of the New York Football Giants. And in fact, he was named the curator of the new Legends Room at the Giants Stadium, MetLife. And so it's highly possible that a lot of the memorabilia that he provided to the Legends Room is actually fraudulent. And it goes so far as in the lawsuit to even name the Giants dry cleaner in the lawsuit, because allegedly the dry cleaner participated in just taking scissors and cutting jerseys and then restitching them just to make them look game worn.
Make it look like the jersey was ripped in competition.
So what happened was that Eric Inselberg was selling his memorabilia out on the market as well as being sort of an official partner of the New York Giants. And all of a sudden, the feds came calling and said, wait a second, that's phony, that's phony, that's phony. And so he turned around to save himself and blew the whistle on the Giants. And this lawsuit alleges that Giants personnel, their equipment people, equipment managers, lied under oath to protect the Giants. And that he's got email confirmation and proof that they lied, that they actually did fabricate all of this phony memorabilia. So in the end, a lot of it does ring true. We don't know the outcome of it yet, but I think it really is a stain on that great franchise because, remember, it goes all the way to the top. The CEO, John Mara, is named in the lawsuit. So it's allegedly incriminating even him, saying, you knew. And then you're trying to incriminate me as the collector when, in fact, it was your racket that got me in trouble. So in the end, I don't know, Shannon. This smells to me, and I would hope that the NFL would take action. Again, probably the most they could do is fine the Giants, but it stinks.
Skip, this doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me because let's just take Eli Manning for a second. Here's a guy that just on NFL contract alone, he's made over $200 million. Not to count what he's made in endorsements off the field. So why would someone that's made over $200 million in NFL money, why would he run the risk of doing something as shady as this? The reward doesn't outweigh the risk because his reputation could be permanently stained because of this. Second of all, Skip, how many game-worn jerseys and helmets do they think an NFL player have during the course of a year?
I don't know. You tell me. I have no idea.
I had the very same helmet for 3 years until I made the Pro Bowl. Now, once you go to the Pro Bowl, Skip, you exchange helmets. So your helmet and then if you got a real good equipment manager, they'll give you an extra 1 or 2 helmets. So you get the exchange helmets. But Skip, you get 1 helmet per year. Now, all these guys that you see after games now exchanging jerseys, that was never a common practice because basically you had 2 jerseys and the way Doug West did it when I was at Denver, he would put the size of the jersey in and then the year in which it happened. So I wore a size 46 jersey. 1996 would be stamped also inside the collar. Same with the game pants. So that was it. Now, if something happened to that jersey, it got torn, it got ripped, and it was beyond repair, obviously they got rid of it. Shannon, you want this jersey? Hey, it's torn. You can take it home, do whatever you want to do with it. And then they would give us a new one. But Skip, why would Eli stoop to something this shady? If Eli was a fringe player, let's just say for the sake of argument, he's a practice squad guy. You know, to make $7,000, $8,000, $10,000 a week. Okay, I get it. Skip, Eli's made $200 million. And you mean to tell me for an extra couple of $1,000, you're willing to impugn your reputation?
Yeah, like
dealing with
4,000
this?
or 5,000, I think. That's what
Why? It's not even worth it.
I don't know, because that helmet came from that first Super Bowl helmet that wound up in Canton, came from arguably the greatest NFL upset ever, you could say, of the undefeated Patriots going down in the last seconds to Eli, right? It's one of the great ones.
Skip, you and I both know a guy, Mike Ornstein.
Yeah.
Mike Ornstein went to federal prison for doing something very similar to this. Now, it also involved selling Super Bowl tickets.
It did.
But he was getting jerseys, rubbing them in the grass, getting fake authenticity certificates, and the feds came knocking. Okay? He had to go to jail. Somebody can go to jail for this, Skip.
Okay,
this is fraud.
That's my point. I agree, which is if the Giants are signing off and overseeing what I consider illegal activity, right?
Yes.
Well, then that franchise should somehow have to pay for this. So to me, I don't know why Eli would cooperate with this and go along with it unless he could argue everybody was doing it. It's just the way we do business. Oh, they want a helmet from these great wins. The second Super, they wanted a couple helmets, you know, down the road.
Right.
He'd just tell the equipment guy, hey, get me a backup helmet. You know, I want to keep, the point is.
He wanted to keep the real helmet.
Yes, but the lawsuit is alleging he wanted to keep it for his personal gain because somewhere down the road, he would either want to hang on to it or he potentially would want to sell. I can't imagine Eli Manning needing to sell the Super Bowl helmet, but.
Exactly.
But it would be very valuable down the road, more valuable by the year.
The reason why I don't think the commissioner, and you kind of touched on it, because this isn't about, you know, whether or not you think Deflategate happened, but this went to the direct competitive advantage. I don't think the Giants were trying to gain a competitive advantage.
There's no competitive advantage.
Right, by shopping jerseys and helmets.
The only similarity is it's all working through the equipment guys, right? Just as allegedly Deflategate was working through the equipment guys, and so is this.
Skip, I've done a few memorabilia shows, and I don't do very many. I don't do any now. And they would bring things to me, and it's like, well, what is this? And I'm looking, I'm like, well, where did you get that from? And it would be a pair of shoes that I had given somebody, a pair of gloves, maybe it was and I'm like, for me, Skip, I knew if you showed me a pair of shoes that I wore, I can tell you the game in which I wore those shoes. And within, you know, maybe I know who I gave that equipment to. Now, once I give it to you, whatever you decide to do with it, I wish you wouldn't sell it. I thought it was you wanted something and I wanted you to have it. But if you want to sell it, that's your business. And I would look at him like, well, yeah, it's game worn. Yeah, I wore that in this game. But Skip, for me, it was not. I got one helmet. I got a game jersey. I'm not gonna, you know, if I'm signing something, I'm not saying under the false pretenses, well, I wore this game and when it didn't happen. Because my reputation is more than a few extra $100 that I'm gonna get for signing something that was worn in a game. And this is what I don't get about Eli. Eli is not a fringe player. Eli's made $200 million. And for, you know, they say an autograph signed Eli jersey is worth $1,000. Skip. $200 million and $1,000. What sense does that make?
I'm with you. That's an interesting point because I get Johnny Manziel while he's at Texas A&M signing just to make a little pocket money. I get that. I don't condone it because he's breaking the rules, but I get what the motivation would be. In this case, I don't. Although, again, these are allegations and a lawsuit that date clear back to his rookie year. They wanted his rookie year helmet, and via the emails that have been leaked, if you will, he's signing off on that. Now, we're going all the way back to 2004, and now we're in 2017. So this didn't happen last year or the year before. It's been an ongoing process, and the suit alleges all the Giants are participating. Lots of players.
Yeah, the bigger the name, the bigger the name.
Sure,
obviously.
This is the first big name that has captured our attention. But to your point, it's hard to believe that Eli would go along with it for the money unless he wanted to go along with it just because of the convenience of it. You guys do that. You know, I don't, or maybe he does, you know, maybe for emotional purposes, he wants to hang on to the helmet he wore in the Super Bowl. Because he didn't want to give it up.
The thing is, Skip, let's just say for the sake of argument, and I'm sure I signed some things, but you don't expect to be in the Hall of Fame. So if you give somebody something that's game-worn your rookie year and you end up in the Hall of Fame, well, obviously, it's going to be worth a lot more money. Here's Eli with the potential of being in the Hall of Fame, and this is Eli's rookie, his helmet from his rookie year. He's in the Hall of Fame now. Okay, obviously. But why would Eli, especially, okay, you didn't know then, your rookie year, you're doing things, obviously, you know, you coming in, you don't really understand. But once you get to year 4, year 5, year 6, you're making $13 million, you're making $15 million, you're a certifiable name. Why would you engage in something like this? The risk, the reward of you getting a couple extra $100,000 versus the stain on your family's name. Mm-hmm. It doesn't make any sense to me. I hope it's not true, but, and this is what normally happens, Skip. If I get in trouble, ain't no sense in me going by myself, Joe. I got to tell Skip. You might as well come on, Skip. You know what we did, Skip. Joy, you was in on it too.
I was not.
Skip, I got to lessen this blow. You think I'm supposed to do all this time by myself? I got to bring something, Skip. If you and I do something, Skip, if we running away and the cops catching me, Skip, you might as well stop. They got me.
Okay, but that brings up an interesting point. If you find out in the end that this was a team-run racket that had been in place for the last, 30 years. It could be 30 years. It could be more than that. And that equipment manager after a manager sort of inherited this racket. That's just how they did internal business. Then will you give Eli a break for just going along with how they did business internally?
No, because you know wrong. Skip, and the way they do it now, it used to be they would send you things and you sign. But people were having people that could do their handwriting, they were signing the things. So now they send people, they tape it. They get you actually signing. You sign things that this is my authentic signature and this is no forgery. Even when you go to memorabilia shows and you're in back, they're taking photos and still shots and cam recording you actually signing, because this was a big, big problem, if you remember, Skip, in the late 90s, early 2000s, where people were doing a lot of forgeries with baseballs. I mean, Babe Ruth was dead 70 years, and they got 1,000 baseballs with Babe Ruth's signature on it. They're like, something's not right here. What do? They scuff it up, they put it in the dryer so it'll look aged. Skip, this is, man, and so now you're gonna get a lot of people that's gonna get called into question. Now everything that somebody has, is this real or is it fake? That's what you got.
I think you should all ask that question. Hey, and we'll have Greg Jennings on later, and he might have a more current view since he played just 2 years ago for his last year of how business is done. Maybe this is league-wide. I don't know. Is it an NFL problem and not just a Giants problem?
Well, normally, Skip, if you're signing something for sponsors like the team have car deals or whatever, and they would pass footballs around on a Saturday morning, you sit in your locker, and the balls would go through, the equipment guys would come, and they'd have 2 bins of footballs, and everybody would sign the balls, and then you'd be on your way. But for profit, but you know what, Skip? Anytime there's money to be made, somebody's willing to cheat.
So I'm hearing your gut feeling is you think Eli is innocent as charged.
No, I don't. I hope he's innocent. How about this? I hope he's innocent, because it doesn't make sense to me. A guy that's made $200 million is willing to risk for $4,000. What is $4,000 to my reputation? When I got $200 million, and I'm trying to get an extra $4,000 for a helmet, an extra $1,500 for a jersey.
Yep.
Really? But
you know what? That always reminds me. Remember the late, great Tex Schramm, who basically invented and built the Dallas Cowboys?
Yes.
It's way before most of your time, but he was a force. He created everything you know about cowboy mystique.
Yes.
And I once said to him, I made the mistake of saying to him, well, so-and-so's, he's got enough money. And Tex Schramm looked me right in the eye and said, nobody ever has enough money. That's period. Like you can go to the richest man, and the richest man doesn't have enough money.
Warren Buffett is worth $76 billion, and he gets up every day and goes to work. Now, if $76 billion is not enough, who has enough money? Nobody.
Okay, so maybe that's the point here in the end.
Okay, Skip, I don't have a problem, but going to work, but to try to do forgery, to try to theft by deception.
Yeah, it's one thing to work, it's another thing to cheat people.
Yeah,
you're just flat out cheating people.
Yeah.
Well,
It's just hard to, it's hard to believe.
If it's true, and memorabilia is a very big business.
Yes.
But I agree with you. The NFL has to do something if it's
Come
true.
on.
It's involving the organization and a current player who's a big face in the NFL.
You got to do
And
something.
you're cheating fans. People take this very seriously. Spend a lot of money on these things, and it's important to fans.
Is that not tarnishing the shield at the
Absolutely.
highest level?
Absolutely. But I believe Commissioner will stay out of this. He probably give John Mara a call and says, look, you guys need to handle this. But what I'm hearing is that they think the guy was trying to get a big payday. Well,
Sure. I mean, that's the Giants' response.
Right.
Their legal response was, oh, he's just been angling for a big payday, the collector who sued them. I don't know. So last quick point, this is just me. I've never understood the memorabilia business. I just don't. If you gave me a Babe Ruth baseball right now, I wouldn't care. And the first piece of memorabilia I was ever given was by our man Nelly about 3 months ago, right before a show here.
Yeah.
One of his first shows that he did with us, maybe about 5 months ago. Yeah. And my favorite player growing up, my favorite baseball player was Bob Gibson,
Right.
Cardinals pitcher, if you remember him. And Nelly from St. Louis got Bob Gibson to sign a baseball to Skip.
That's right. I remember him doing that to you.
And so I've got it on my table at home. It's my first piece, but it means something to me because he was my favorite player. But I wouldn't have sought it. I wouldn't have said, hey, Bob, could you sign a baseball?
No, and it's a nice gift also.
Oh, it's great.
Very thoughtful.
but Skip, you'd be surprised. A lot of guys, when they go to the Pro Bowl, and I was never big in, I'm like you, I was never really big, and that's one of the regrets I have, because here I am playing with all these Hall of Fame players, and I didn't get anything signed. I didn't get, guys come with jerseys, guys come with football and helmets, and the guys would sign.
It becomes more important to you as time
Have you
goes on,
ever
but it
asked
is
for an
very
autograph
important to
in your
fans.
life?
Not to my recollection. I would get something not for me, but for a teammate.
Yeah, no, but for you.
No.
No.
But I would.
Yeah.
Oh, I get something from the king.
You would?
Uh,
I only asked one person for an autograph. It was Joy. I got Joy's autograph.
Well, I asked Eric Shanks and Jamie Horowitz to sign that check. Can you put
works.
your autograph
Make
on
sure
this
that
check?
one's
Yeah.
signed.
No mercy.
The NBA playoffs start tomorrow. In the West, the Warriors are the 1 seed and start their series against the Blazers on Sunday. Golden State has won 15 of their last 16 games. Let's take a look at the rest of the West. The Clippers face the Jazz, the Rockets play the Thunder, and the Spurs are the 2 seed and will face the Grizzlies in the first round. Skip, who will win the West?
Shannon Sharpe, enjoy. From the start of the season, I had a gut feeling, and that was that I believed that there was one team that could beat Golden State in the West. Only one team, and that was Golden State. I thought by adding Kevin Durant, it would cost them 1 year, one cycle, one playoff cycle of trying to figure out the big game playoff chemistry needed to win big, late, close games. And again, I got a little shaky this year, especially down the stretch. Did they finish strong or what? Because they won 15 of their last 16. No cruise control for that team. And it seemed that Kevin, after his knee injury, blended right back in just nicely and finely. And so I'm a little shaky on this, but I'm going to stick with my gut feeling. Golden State will fall in any of the first 3 rounds of the playoffs. Before the year, I picked the Los Angeles Clippers to win the West, and I did it for 2 reasons. Number one, as you know, I'm a longtime Spurs fan, and the last 2 years I picked the Spurs, and I picked them so strongly on television, I felt like I jinxed them, like I just kept beating the drum, and I finally said, I'm backing off this year. I'm not going to pick them before the season starts, in part because I'm not even sure what they're going to be without the great Tim Duncan. Could Pau Gasol and David Lee replace Tim Duncan? And guess what? They shocked me how good they were. They were much better than I thought they could be. And I do love their chances until I told you, the last couple of weeks. Coach Popovich did it again. He took his foot off the gas way too early, and they lost 4 of their last 5 games. So I don't love the way they closed. But they did finish number 1 in defense and number 1 in three-point shooting, and that can win you the Western Conference. But I see 3 potential pitfalls for Golden State. And you can laugh at me, but Portland could be a pitfall if Jusuf Nurkic can play. And who's this guy? Well, he's 7 feet tall, and he's 22 years of age, and Portland stole him from Denver at the trade deadline and made their season. They were dead in the water. They were going to miss the playoffs, and this kid changed their life because he is a double-double. He's 15 and 10 every night, and he is not afraid of anybody. He's got great feet, great hands, and great touch.
And the thing is, Skip, the team that traded him to Portland, they knocked out of the playoffs in the 8th.
Missed the playoffs. So then, unfortunately, a couple of weeks back, Nurkic fractured his fibula. I got to believe it's a hairline because they say there's a good chance he's going to play. But will he be 100%? If he's 100% for game 1 on Sunday, this series is going to go a ways. It might take 6. It might even take 7 games. I'll stick with Golden State, but again, Portland will take pound of flesh. Clippers, round 2, if it comes to that. They started off hot. They crushed your Cavs at Cleveland early, and 6 days later, they got left for dead at home by the Golden State Warriors. And then all of a sudden, Blake Griffin's gone for 21 games, and Chris Paul's gone for 21 games, and only recently have they come back together and closed hot, under the radar hot. I still say that team has huge firepower. They're all in the last year of their contract. It could be the last hurrah. Doc is on the hot seat. I still say that that team against a team with Kevin Durant will cause some problems for Golden State. I could see that going 7 games. Okay. And if it does and Golden State survives that, it brings me back to my Spurs. Obviously, on March 11th, we know what happened at San Antonio. They, without Kevin Durant, Golden State, left my Spurs for dead because my Spurs got up, 29-7?
Yep.
And from that point forward, they lost that game in San Antonio 103-69. But there was no Kevin Durant. So, as I told you the next day, I got one hope here. Hurry back, Kevin. I need you because I don't know if he can blend back into the chemistry. And I don't want to detail this, but I told you all year they suffered 9 big, bad, inexplicably bad losses with Kevin Durant in the lineup. Why is that? They weren't sure, is it your team, Steph, or is it your team, Kevin? And I think in big, late, close playoff games, they will struggle to find their pecking order. Whose turn is it to close this game? So I'm going to say if my Spurs can grind through games in the grindhouse against Memphis, I think it's going to go 7 games because the Spurs lost their way at the end of the year. But if they can recover and figure out how to get back on a roll again against Memphis, they can beat Houston because it's a bad matchup for Houston. They just pick Houston's defense to pieces. And that would bring us back to Spurs versus Golden State in the finals. And I'm going to say somehow Golden State beats Golden State because that's the only hope that I have. They can't figure out how to close against a team, the Spurs, who for most of the year had the best road record in the NBA until the very end when they collapsed. But I think they are capable, as were the Cavs last year, of winning a game at Golden State. So I'm going to close my eyes and say Golden State beats itself and Spurs make it to the finals.
Skip, it's hard to pick against Golden State because they have the luxury that very few teams in NBA history has ever possessed. They have 4 All-NBA players in their starting lineup. They have 4 All-Stars in their starting lineup. The likelihood of all 4 of those guys being cold on a given night is really next to nil. And what happens is that last year, if Clay and Steph struggled, they struggled. But now you add a 30-point scorer in Kevin Durant, a former MVP, first-team All-NBA player in Kevin Durant. That's a dimension that they didn't have last year. Harrison Barnes was a nice, solid role player. He was a good piece. He played good defense. Know he's going to get you 14 to 15 a night. But he wasn't taking a game over, especially in the playoff. If Clay and Steph struggle, you still have Draymond and you still have KD that can bring the load home. If Steph struggle, you have Clay and KD. So this is where that makes it so difficult for a team to beat San Antonio because I don't believe you can beat them by outscoring them. Now, Houston,
Golden State. Yes.
Golden State.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Houston, Daryl Morey, he believes, his analytics tell him we can beat them by shooting the 3. That's why they put up about 40, 41 a game. Hopefully, and they say, well, if we can shoot 35%, we love our chances. Skip, I don't believe you can beat Golden State by outscoring them. The Cleveland Cavaliers beat them in a 7-game series because they held them to 15 points lower than what they normally score. You have to grind them out. The Grizzlies can do that. But the Grizzlies are not going to get an opportunity because they face the Spurs, who's a nemesis of them.
It has been. And plus, they're without Tony Allen, who's been a nemesis of the Spurs. And it looks like he's going to be gone for the whole first round.
Yes.
So unless Memphis survives without him, I'm with you. It's a little advantage Spurs.
Now, the Clippers, you like the Clippers over Utah. I think that series is going to probably go 7 games.
It could. I mean, Utah's really good on defense.
They are.
They're number one in points allowed on defense.
Because they have Gobert, they have Favors, you know, Hood. And Hood can get hot from 3. They got some guys that can score some points. You don't sleep on Utah because, you know, oh, Utah. Man, they don't do anything up there in Utah. They can score. Gordon Hayward is a better player than people give him credit for. I think he's probably the best American-born white player. Who you take him? Is he Kevin Love, the Plumlee brothers? I take Hayward.
I'm thinking I'd have to make sure I don't miss anybody, but he's up there. Yeah, he's in the top 2 or 3.
Exactly.
Sure. Yeah.
So with that being,
I mean, on a given night, Kevin Love, when he comes to play,
right.
that's pretty big stuff.
But the thing is, with Gordon Hayward, he can play on both ends of the court. And that's what I think gives him the advantage, is because he can play defense and he can also go get you 25 to 30 points on a given night. So I'm going to say, you know what? I don't think Portland doesn't play defense, Skip. You can't beat this team thinking you're going to score 130. Because if you think you can score 130, that means they're going to score 145 on you. And this is the problem that Portland has with them. Now, Dame Lillard and C.J. McCollum, they're going to cause you some problems, but they can't stop anybody. They don't really have any good matchups for them other than on the offensive end.
But so, a really skilled big man has given Golden State issues.
Yes.
On both ends of the floor. And Zaza seems a little hobbled right now. He's had knick-knack injuries. So,
right.
Again, if Nurkic isn't hobbled, they're going to have a hard time with him. Again, that Portland would have to slow it down, and then Portland's got to win the 3-point contest.
Yes. Skip, I'm gonna say it's gonna be Golden State and the Spurs in the finals, in the Western Conference Finals. I'm gonna say Golden State will win in 7.
Okay, I appreciate the respect for my Spurs. If it's going to take 7 games, that would be a worthy accomplishment for my Spurs.
But the thing is, and I think what helps Golden State is that Kevin Durant is going to have a couple of rounds to get back reintegrated into this offense. They won a lot of these, you say they won 15 to 16, but they played about 14 of those games without Kevin Durant. So now, he comes back in, so they're going to have to work his way back in. But it's
and then we don't know about Kevin's knee. I think it was a pretty serious sprain. It was a sprain, but there could be a partial tear. And so as the RPM ramps up, can he take the pounding of it? Will he tweak it? I don't, and I'm knocking on wood for Kevin's sake because I like him and I don't want him to get hurt. But I'm just saying that was a serious injury that cost him a big chunk of the season.
And the good thing about playoff basketball, Skip, is that there are no back-to-backs. And it's not like, okay, we got Golden State today and we got this other team tomorrow. You don't have to worry about that. You get to focus in. So basically you got 2 weeks to try to find a way, how do we slow this team down? And the Cleveland Cavaliers says, look, the best way, this is the way you do it. You get physical with them. You grind them. You don't let them go running high. You can't let them be like Kato Ledecky and lap you. Because if you let them hit one of these 40-point quarters on you, it's over. You're not coming back on them in the playoffs when you get down by 20. Because Skip, they can go for 40. They can go for 50 points in a quarter. But you got to minimize the damage. And when they start making these threes and Steph Curry is wagging his tongue and he's shimmying, don't get discouraged. But you got to stay close to them.
Got to stay close. If they start front running, they will run you in the floor. Fast.
But don't worry, because what the King say? Oh, I know you can swim in the pool, Steph Curry.
Oh, we've heard that.
I know you can swim in the pool. But see, after you drive way out here to the middle of the ocean, see the strokes.
Well, I didn't know LeBron.
Yeah!
Wow, impressive.
Anthony Nesty, Suriname. Remember, 1988, he beat Matt Biondi? First African-American, well, he was an African-American, but he's the first black of black descent to win a gold. Oh, don't sleep, Simone Manuel. You don't think we can swim?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying LeBron. Could he win an Olympic gold swimming?
LeBron took him out there to the deep.
Really?
Get back to the shore the best way you know.
So when you say the Cavs figured out how to beat them, it's get Draymond suspended in Game 5? Is that what it is?
I like that, Joy. That's a good point.
No.
Write that down.
Because we needed him in Game 3 and Game 6 and 7.
So Skip has the Spurs coming out of the West. Shannon has Golden State.
No mercy.
Let's talk about the East. Next up, the Cavs come into the NBA playoffs as the 2 seed against the Pacers. The Cavs ended the regular season on a 4-game losing streak, but LeBron has won 17 straight games in the first round. Yesterday, LeBron talked about his team's chances. Let's take a listen.
We have a good chance to win it all, but it starts with, the baby steps first. We understand that. And it starts with our opponent. you know, in 2 days. So we have to be very determined, but we also have to be very smart about our game plan and how we execute that game plan, and you know, execute that, you know, 48 minutes as possible, starting with game 1. I think through everything that went on with our team, we're in a position where we can do something special still. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm not one to harp on what happened in the regular season through injuries, through bad losses, through good wins, through whatever the case may be. We have a good club going into the postseason, and that's all you can ask for. I got the answer. I'm not giving it to you, but I got the answer why I feel like we got a great chance.
Shannon, how many losses?
He's got that answer.
You know the answer is, Skip.
Oh, I don't
What's the
know.
answer,
Tell me.
Skip?
You tell me what the answer is.
6'9".
The King.
255.
Yeah.
Freight trainism. Coming at you live and in color.
How
I
many
like
losses will it take the Cavs to get to the finals?
I'm going to say 5. I'm going to say they'll lose 1 to Indy in round 1. They'll lose 2 to Toronto in round 2. And here's the shocker, Skip. They're going to lose 2 games to the Washington Wizards.
Oh, you got the Wizards.
In the Eastern Conference.
Okay.
But the King and Unk will prevail.
Okay, you mean the Unk and King, but go ahead.
That's it, Skip. As he said, there have been some bad losses. There have been some injuries. But this is what we know. They have yet to lose a series when the big 3 is healthy. That has yet to happen. So it doesn't matter if Draymond got suspended. It doesn't matter. If those 3 guys are healthy, they're coming out of the East.
Kyrie's knees okay? Trusted?
It's fine.
Just fine. You know.
Actually, it's about to be Sunday. He's gonna have to ice it from putting it in Jeff Teague's butt, going to the hole so much.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Paul George, you gonna get it too. Yeah. And Lance Stevenson, all that blowing. Oh, born ready. Now all of a sudden, born ready. Lance Stevenson, stop it. Giving everybody want a nickname now. Lance Stevenson's nickname is not born ready. Okay? But you're gonna get exactly what you're looking for. I know what you don't sniff on me, Skip Bayless. Well, you know. So when you give me the sniff, you already know what time it is. The King got this. Go ahead and do what you look at it.
Got this.
Will you see them 3 right?
Yeah.
Skip.
Huh.
Them bandits right there.
Yeah, Kevin Love's got a towel around his shoulders to cool him off, right? Because he is so hot. Okay. I hate to do this, Joy, but for once, I have to agree with my man Shannon. LeBron is only going to lose 5 games on the way to his, what are we up to, 7 straight finals?
7.
5 losses. But I'm going to reiterate what I told you yesterday. The NBA gods, the basketball gods, smiled on LeBron James on the final night of the regular season, allowing him to avoid potential first-round collapses at the hands of the Heat or the Bulls. And everything changed in his path to the finals, because the only thing I can now root for, just for interest's sake, is that what if those Bulls, what's that guy's name? That guy who taught LeBron everything he knew about winning, that guy from Miami? Oh, yeah, Dwayne Wade. He's now a Chicago Bull. What if they get hot? What if they shock the Celtics in round 1 and then, I don't know, could they shock the Wizards in round 2? It's possible they're capable of doing that. And then we would have Big Brother versus Little Brother in the Eastern Conference Finals. And Big Brother just might intimidate Little Brother a little bit.
Stop it, Skip.
Little Brother might be looking over his shoulder like, I don't know. I mean, Big Brother knows all my tricks.
You're expecting Dwayne Wade needs to hold up.
I don't know. He got to ice him for a long time because he was out for a while, right?
Yeah.
So, again, that's my...
And they play better without him.
That's my wishful thinking, but let's go back to round 1. What a break LeBron got. Alas. Here come the Pacers. There's only one man on the Pacers who's not afraid of LeBron James. And it's the guy who blew in his ear. And it's a guy who just, 10 days ago was lying on his couch playing video games because he was with nobody. And he's bounced around the league, and now he's bounced back to the Indiana Pacers. And I'm afraid he's not much more than a role player at this point in his career, even though, by the way, Lance Stevenson is only 26 years of age. So shouldn't he just be entering his prime?
Much more than a distraction. That's what he is.
He's a distraction. What is it, born ready? He's born ready against LeBron.
No, he's not.
Yes, he is. Against LeBron, he is. But unfortunately, Paul George is not born ready against LeBron because I've told you before, and I'm going to stand by it, Paul George is a star, but he's not a superstar. So I cannot condemn Danny Ainge for not pulling the trigger on that trade at the deadline to the Celtics. He could have gone into his cache of draft picks and said, I want Paul George for the future. And he said, no, I'm going to stick with what I have because we'd rather use that Nets pick wherever it falls. It could be the #1 overall. We want to take a kid that we think will be better in the long term than Paul George will. And I don't blame him for that. So Paul George is not a Celtic. He's still a Pacer. And they had their moments, but they're in the end not very good. And Paul George does not believe he can beat LeBron James head-to-head. So I'm sorry. I got the Cavs 4-1 in this series, 4 games to 1 game. And I think it's going to allow them to shake off some of the doubt that was created over the last 46 regular season games when they went 23-23. They were 500 over the last 46 games. That is a horrible sign for a defending champ. But if you draw the right team in the first round that you know you can beat, that they can give you a little bit of run, but all of a sudden you can start to feel real good about yourselves again. And I think those 3 will start to feel much better about themselves after this series, which will lead them into Toronto in round 2 instead of the Wizards. So they dodge another potential collapse.
We gonna see the Wizards.
Yeah.
We gonna see them.
So, you think they're just going to win anyway, right? Okay.
Really?
Yeah. I got Toronto, and they did add P.J. Tucker at the deadline for one reason and one reason only, to drag LeBron out deep into the ocean and at least just wear him out a little bit. P.J. Tucker, he can do it. He can at least beat on LeBron and make him work for everything he gets. But Kyle Lowry's back, DeMar DeRozan. I just don't think they think in their heart of hearts they can beat the King. I just think the King psychologically owns both of them.
LeBron.
Did in the conference final last year. It's 4 games to 2, and I see the same thing this year, 4 games to 2.
You know, LeBron did Navy SEAL training, so he's ready.
He did, like Tiger did?
70-pound backpack with boots on in the middle of the ocean, so he can stay afloat for a long time.
He did that? I didn't hear that.
No.
Oh, okay.
But I'm just saying he can swim, he can handle it.
Yeah.
See, it's a whole different ball. Skip, they say in SEAL training, there's a lot of guys that come in that swam in high school and been swimming their whole life. But when you put them in the ocean and you put them where you can't grab on to the side of the pool, where the man can't help you up out when you start to go under, and you got to swim to the shore with that big old backpack on your back, it's a whole different ball game.
Really?
See, LeBron James has been in this situation so many times before. He knows what it's like to gasp for air and know he can't count on anybody but the King himself.
You know, Kawhi Leonard was telling me the same thing just the other
Kawhi
day.
ain't tell you
He was
nothing.
telling me that about LeBron.
Did he tell you about the free
LeBron
throws
has
he
never
missed?
swum out to that point in the ocean.
Did Kawhi tell you about those missed free throws he had in Game 6? Did he tell you about those?
That was when he was 18 years old.
No, you stop it, Skip. But he was not 18 years old.
He was. So then we get to the finals. I still think the Celtics will make it through to the finals, but this is the classic case of damned if you do or don't. If they did have Paul George or Jimmy Butler, and again, I'm not saying they should have made the trade, but if they did have them right here, right now, just for pay me now, pay me later, I think with one of those 2 guys, they could beat the Kings team. But as was, I don't think they can beat the Kings team.
Nope.
I just don't.
Nope.
I think it's a bad matchup for Boston.
Yep, because I don't believe and as great as Isaiah Thomas has been this year, and he's been spectacular, he's not beating LeBron James by himself. He's not beating the Cavaliers.
He is Mighty Mouse, but he's a little man.
I mean, so basically, Danny Ainge hinged all his hopes on Al Horford and Isaiah Thomas. Okay, let me know. Danny Ainge is waiting for LeBron to get old. He's waiting for LeBron to get 35, 36.
I would agree.
Because all these draft picks, you think you're going to beat LeBron with draft picks? You better get you a bona fide superstar. And he take those down. Ask KD. Ask Steph Curry.
So I got...
Ask Kawhi and Tim Duncan.
No, we're about to talk about that. But I got Cavs in 6 in the Eastern Conference Finals, so that's a total of 5 games that they lose. 1, 2, and 2. That's what you got.
That's what I got.
But you got Wizards getting to the finals.
Yeah.
The Wizards could cause LeBron some trouble.
Ain't no trouble. Do you remember that 3-point shot he hit on Pennsylvania Avenue with 1 second on the clock? You called it luck?
Luck, he banked it.
That's what he shot. Bank was open.
You banked it from falling into the stands? You practice that shot, don't you, LeBron?
Skip,
Nobody, I've never seen him bank a shot from that angle, and suddenly he banked the one that he's fallen in the first row and taking.
So Shannon has the Cavs and the Warriors in the finals. You have the Spurs and the Cavs in the finals.
Yep.
Who do you have winning it all?
Oh, this is easy. Rock, paper, scissors, and paper covers rock, and king is rock, and Spurs are paper. The Spurs always beat LeBron James. They should have beaten him all 3 times in the finals.
No, they shouldn't.
Yes, they should have. They're up 5 with 18 seconds left in the clinching Game 6 in Miami. It's over.
Kawhi can't handle that pressure.
Ernestine made the mistake of her life. She called me at that minute. I was in Miami, obviously. She called and said, "It's over. We just won." I said, "Don't say that. Don't say that." It's the ultimate jinx. It was the ultimate jinx. I never forgave her for that. True story.
So Ernestine burned the money, huh? You know, you gambling, you know, you touch the money.
You can't do it. You just can't do it. I mean, it looked over, it felt over, but you can't say it. If the words come out of your mouth, you just can't. It's like, well, whatever. It's like perfect game jinx. We did that the other day. Martha Stewart did it to the Yankees, right?
LeBron says it's never over. As long as I'm on the court, he says we got a chance.
Yeah, LeBron had a chance with 3 late, uncharacteristic, unforced error turnovers, and then he missed the 3 to tie, and we know what happened at that moment. The greatest clutch shot in the history of basketball happened.
What happened in overtime? What did LeBron do in overtime?
My team was psychologically
care about your
crushed. It was over. They were done. As soon as that ball, it didn't just go through the net, it popped the net. I think it popped it completely over, as I recall, right?
Yeah. And then what happened? Game 7.
They were psychologically devastated, and they could not pick themselves back up off the floor, even though it was a fairly close game.
Are you going to talk about that 18-foot jumper that LeBron hit with 20 seconds left? Are you going to talk oh, Kawhi? Do you want to talk about that, Skip?
I don't want to remember anything about Game 7 because there's no way a team can bounce back and win a game on the other team's floor after what happened, the devastation of Game 6, because it was a flat-out 18-second collapse, thanks to missed free throws by Kawhi and Manu Ginobili, 2 of my favorite guys.
LeBron won a Game 7 on the opposing team's court?
Not like that.
Of course not.
So let's look at what happened when LeBron played the Spurs. 4-0 happened in Cleveland the first time.
Yeah, what about those mop buckets he took to the finals?
Yeah, I thought that was a pretty good team.
No, you didn't, Skip.
3 to 4 games was the Ray Allen series. And then, wait a second, then the following years, because the Spurs were on a mission in 2014, LeBron James got blown off the floor by a record NBA Finals margin. Shot in the heart. It was over fast because when it went to 3 and 4 in Miami, LeBron was like, I can't do this. I'm disengaged. I'm disinterested. I'm out.
Well, first
they
of
were
all,
way out.
If San Antonio had paid their electric bill, they would have had AC. But San Antonio Power cut the AC of the building.
So
and they
how do you explain only one player on there were how many 12 and 12 who probably played in that game or thereof? Only one player cramped on the floor. Only one. And boy, the drama king really cramped. He's dragging his leg down the court.
And what was he doing? And what was he doing? Giving them the business.
Yeah.
Tell them what he did to Kawhi in the game 1.
He saw what was happening. He saw what was coming. He saw the handwriting.
They had the lead. They had the lead until them cramps hit him. They couldn't do nothing with him. The man couldn't even
They lost by a record margin. You can't make that case. That's a pathetic, lame case that you're trying to make.
And when was the last time?
So let's add that up. So in the finals, LeBron versus San Antonio is now 5-11. He's won 5 games. He's lost 11 games. And this time, I'll even give you a 7-game series, but he's going to lose 4 more games to the San Antonio Spurs.
They might sweep you out. Now it won't be a sweep. It'll be 4-2.
Go ahead, say sweep.
4-2.
4-2?
4-2. Cavs will beat the Spurs 4-2 if they play.
Hey.
But they're not going to play.
What happened in Cleveland earlier this year?
They lost.
They lost.
Yeah.
And Kawhi Leonard dominated LeBron James. How did that happen?
You remember what happened last time? Steph Curry, they raining them threes on them.
You know, it was funny. Yesterday I was reading some of the ESPN experts. They had like 20 of them picking the beat writers and various writers, and 4 of them picked Kawhi Leonard to be MVP this year. I was shocked by that. Interesting.
Kawhi ain't going to be no MVP.
So Skip has the Spurs in 7 against the Cavs. You have the Cavs in what against the Warriors?
7
4?
again.
Huh?
7.
No mercy. ESPN reports Phil Jackson and the Knicks have agreed to exercise the 2-year option on Jackson's current 5-year deal. The Knicks have missed the playoffs and lost at least 50 games in all 3 years Jackson has been in charge. So we're joined by Meta World Peace. Meta, you played for Phil and you know him well. Are you surprised the Knicks kept him?
Yeah, pretty funny how the first highlights was a turnover and a dunk. Yeah, that was great. But that's New York for you, and I'm not surprised. I'm glad they kept him because most of the time the fans, they put so much pressure on the organization. They put so much pressure on the players. It's like, how are you going to ever win a game when you're not supportive like, San Antonio fans, where they know it's a process. So I'm glad that they stuck with Phil.
Yeah, but Meta, it's been a long, hard nightmare for those fans for a long time. And what sign of life has Phil shown you in 3 years? Because they started off bad and they really kind of got worse.
I think the thing is this: he has the triangle that he want to implement, and then certain concepts of the triangle, and you got to get the players in there. One that either has a high basketball IQ or they've been together for a couple of years. And I think now they had a team that's been there for a period of time. Now I see where they're at next year. See where they're at next year.
This is a bad move for me. I don't know. How long can a restaurant stay open that continuously serve bad food? Skip, since he's been there, there are 80 and 166.
Oh, wow. That's tough.
Exactly. Now, they're basically saying, Phil, you're coming back for 2 more years. But if I'm Carmelo Anthony, I say, guess what? I got me a 1-year extension, too. I'm not going to let Phil Jackson run me up out of New York. I'm not going anywhere, Phil, because I got a no-trade, Skip. That's what you gave me.
But that's such a sad concept to me. You're just going to keep him, hold him hostage there. So doesn't Carmelo ever want to even get a chance to advance in the playoffs? Because they're going nowhere real fast.
He thought he had a chance. That's why he wanted out of Denver. He thought he had a chance to go win in New York. So he hijacked his way out of Denver, and he's in New York. But what he didn't realize is that they had to give up everything in New York to get him. So when he got there, the cupboard was bare. So now what are you going to do, Skip?
So Phil goes out and says, I'm going Derrick Rose, I'm going Joakim Noah. Fail.
Yes.
Not especially Joakim, just busted. And you spent a lot of money on Joakim, and now you got the 7th overall pick in the draft, but I just don't see any future.
I think, they spent a lot of money. I think if you want to win, you need pieces. In order to have pieces, you got to pay these players. But if you're taking all the capital, then what are you going to have left for that fourth-string player?
But what has Phil done? We can't argue his acumen as a head coach, Skip.
Right.
But, Skip, he didn't put the Bulls together. Jerry Krause did. He didn't put the Lakers together. Jerry West and Mitch Kupchak did. So what has he shown you? That he can build a team. Not coach a team, build a team.
You know what he does best? He has dinner with James Dolan, the owner. That's what he does best, because James Dolan loves him some Phil, because Phil's a cool guy. You know Phil very well, right? He's fun to be around, fun to have dinner with, fun to hang with, and that's what's going on right here. James Dolan needs to be fired, and unfortunately, he owns the basketball team, which he inherited basically from his father, and you're not going to get rid of it.
How do you get free agents to come there after the way he treated Carmelo?
I don't know. I don't know.
I think Phil's going to get it. It's going to take some time. This is a new job for him also. It's first time on the job, really, the first 3 years. So I don't know who's getting it right that quick. I know he's been a great 2 rings as a Knick, 72, 70, 71, 73. And then, 11 as a coach, but now this is a new job. So it's showing that it's tough.
Well, long haul for Knicks fans. Next up, Meta, we have to talk about your Lakers. They finished the season with the 3rd worst record in the NBA, but finished the season winning 5 of their last 6. So, Meta, how close are the Lakers to becoming a playoff team?
They're a little bit ways away, but they're going to make progress. Like last year, D'Angelo first year, 19-year-old, 6'2", but body wasn't ready. Had a lot of turnovers, guys hitting and be turning the ball over. This year, a little bit different. And Brandon Ingram, the same situation. In the beginning of the season, they're pushing him around, but he's very physical, for his size. He's very strong for his weight.
Interesting.
So now he's gotten better and started to even show, taking over some games at times. So they're a little bit ways away, but they're gonna be better.
So which of those 2 kids do you like the best between Brandon and D'Angelo?
It's just so different. D'Angelo loves to take big shots. He's one of those guys in the playoffs, when you give him the ball and open, a second left, the other team might be upset. You can't make any mistakes against D'Angelo. And they're very different,
personality-wise, huh?
Yeah, it's 2 different people. 2 different people. Their game is different. Ingram's more athletic. So they're two different players.
What's Brandon Ingram's ceiling? What could he be? Could he be perennial all-star? Could Could he lead the league in scoring? Could he?
I don't know if that's important to him because he plays defense. You see, so he's like that type of, he's like Paul George where he's going to play defense and not save it all for offense. I've seen a lot of great things from him. So I don't know if he's going to be leading the league in scoring, but he's definitely going to be a two-way player. Absolutely, and a really good two-way player.
What does Magic Johnson bring in just sort of aura to the Lakers? Bring back?
It's new.
Yeah.
You know, it's new, and the players, as a young player, and you see a change being made, you're like, okay, this is for me. You know, we're heading in the right direction. So for the young guys, you know, it's really good for them.
But can you win? Do you need to get some superstars in there? Can you win with this young team?
You don't need superstars. I'd rather, you know, and this is me speaking, I'd rather keep the team together and let them grow and then turn them into superstars. Instead of bringing some superstar in, that's not really a superstar. Sometimes people are made superstars because the media is saying they're superstars. You know, agents are positioning them as superstars, or they was on the right team at the right time. And then sometimes they're not a superstar. They turn out to be busts. So this team has potential superstars.
So you want to see growth through the draft, and obviously they need to, so to speak, hit the lottery with their top 3 pick. It has to be in the top 3 after the lottery for them to keep it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So they, if they're in the top 3, they're going to get a player.
Yeah, they're going to get a good player. They're going to get a good player.
But I don't know if you can win with them good young players. I mean, you look at the West and the way they're positioned right now, Golden State going to be together for a minute.
Well,
Rockets going to be together for a minute. San Antonio.
If I know Magic, and I do know Magic, he's going to want to lure a big name free agent.
It just got to be a good one. You know, it just can't be somebody who's like, you know, a supposedly superstar, and they're really not.
Do you think young free agents today, younger, you know, late 20s, care about Magic Johnson, who he is? Do you think they would come to play for Magic Johnson?
It's hard to say. It's his first time on the job too, right?
Yeah.
So it's hard to say. I can say yes. Magic a great personality on TV. You know, turned the Lake organization around. But who knows? I'm not the free agents, you know. So first time on the job, so it could be tough. But I'm sure he'll get through it.
Well, we're certainly hoping that Magic has a better first 3 years than Phil, for sure.
Yeah, can he be worse than Phil?
No mercy. The Warriors have home court throughout the playoffs, and they begin their series with the Blazers on Sunday. Kevin Durant is back, and Golden State has won 15 of their last 16 games. ESPN analyst Jeff Van Gundy said the Warriors are going to win it all. Golden State is your champion. It won't be close. No one is going to push them. It's over. It would be a great time saver if we just gave the Warriors the trophy now. If they avoid an incident this year and they are healthy, the playoffs are over. I don't think the Warriors will be challenged. I'd be surprised if any series went to a 7th game. We're joined by Chris Broussard. Welcome, Chris.
Thank you.
Pretty strong.
ABC and ESPN.
I was going to say, right? I'm sure the networks love that.
A lot of ifs in that.
Yeah.
Do you agree with Van Gundy?
Well, look, this is kind of Jeff. 2 years ago, when the Warriors did go on to win it, he said they wouldn't lose more than 1 game the entire playoffs.
Right.
Jeff's an honest guy. I believe this is what he means, but he's also very close with Mark Jackson. I think he likes, you know what I mean, saying, oh, the Warriors just got so much talent. It can kind of make Mark look better, their former coach. But as the only person on this set that chose Golden State in the playoffs, Cleveland.
You went with the chalk.
The Clippers. Miami, of course.
Win it all.
Well, you went way out on that limb, Chris.
No,
they added Kevin Durant. You said, you know what? I'm going to pick Golden State.
Nobody. You guys didn't pick them. I
tell me when it's my turn to talk.
I picked with my head.
Yeah. So it's over, right?
It is over.
Yeah, it's way
I do
over.
tend to agree with Jeff. Let's go through it. But first of all, Kevin Durant, we will see his value much more in the playoffs than we did in the regular season. As great as he was in the regular season.
You better hope so.
Because when you can focus in on the Warriors, right? 7-game series, you don't have to worry about another team. That's when they can defend Steph and Klay a little bit better. But think about it. Last year, all you had to worry about was Steph and Klay. Now you've got Durant to worry about too. So if you do bottle up those two, you got KD. I don't even think you can bottle them up because you have to worry about KD, so you can't pay as much attention to Steph and Klay as you would in the past.
Sounds good on paper. Go ahead.
It does sound good on paper, and it looks good on the court too. The bench, which has been the Achilles heel most of the year, they found themselves when KD was out. David West looked like a different man. Andre Iguodala, Sean Livingston, they all played their best ball of the season. So now the bench is playing well. So Portland, I love Damian Lillard. I love his audacity. I love the confidence. I love Nurkic. I'm with you on Nurkic.
Did I not tell you?
I think he'll play too. I think he'll play.
He's going to have to be 100%.
Yeah.
to make any big difference in this series.
Yeah. But 5.
But
5.
okay, even if he plays?
5. Yes.
Okay.
5. The Clippers, no. Clippers don't even want this series at all. All right.
You've been watching the Clippers lately?
Yeah, but they was an easy schedule. I mean, teams weren't playing.
Yeah, like Houston, San Antonio, easy.
Houston
easy.
was a good win. Houston was a good win.
So was San Antonio.
Clippers, even that, let the Clippers be at their best. Let Doc coach his best.
You know what?
Let Chris and all them play their best.
What just happened?
They're going down in 4 or 5.
Doc Rivers had an Austin Rivers problem, and what happened late in the year? Austin Rivers got hurt, and all of a sudden they took off. Am I not right about that?
That there is correct.
Thank you.
I don't think 5. At 5 max. All right, Doc, whoever they get mad, 5 max. All right. Your Spurs, out of respect, they might get to 6, but I think 5.
How many times you've been wrong about the Spurs in your career?
Not that many, not as much as you
please.
might think.
Oh,
A lot, but
lot.
not as
Yeah,
much as
okay.
you would
All right.
think.
No.
I have been counting them out for like a decade, but I think 6 at the most. And the Cavs, I think, will get to 6. Cavs' problem is their defense is they're old, man. They don't have, and even LeBron's not quite the defender he used to be. 14th year, that's understandable. But they have to be so together team-wise defensive. Their execution has to be perfect. And that's hard to do, and you know, no room for error on that end. So I think
you
they
have
get
Golden
6.
State losing 1, 1, 2, 2.
Yeah.
Right? So all the way
So
through the
that's
finals,
6.
6 games they're going to lose in the
So
next 4 rounds.
I'm
of
not
the
as
playoffs.
far as Van Gundy, but
You're close. Well, you're in the ballpark.
they don't go
No,
7.
you go ahead.
They don't go
go
7.
Go ahead.
You good if I go?
Yeah, I'm good.
Chris Broussard, I said before the season started, and I'm going to stand right by what I said, there's only really one team that can beat Golden State, and it is Golden State, because it is so hard when the games have magnitude to blend a Kevin Durant into the chemistry that looked so great last year, winning 73 games and being up 3-1 on his team before we know what happened after that. Draymond happened.
Stop it.
Bogut happened. We know what
The
happened.
Kang.
You know? Yeah. And I said it was going to take one playoff cycle for them to really figure this out. And when they do, they're all young enough, they might win the next 3 or 4. But I feel like the chemistry was questionable even when Kevin was healthy through the first, whatever it was, 3 quarters
They
of
were
the
like
season.
50 and 10.
Okay, but they had 9 what I call bad losses, where I scratch my head over that one, where you blow a 24-point lead at home to Memphis. You get blown out at Memphis. I know Memphis' style sort of fits, or doesn't fit what they do. But in the end, they're going to lose to somebody along the trail. Portland is dangerous. If Yusuf Nurkic is right, he's going to cause them big problems because Zaza has not been right. And I don't know if they can go with JaVale or whatever, but Nurkic is going to be a star in this league. He's only 22 years of age, and I have no idea what happens if you have a hairline fracture of your fibula. Can you bounce back in 2 weeks from that? I don't know. It's pretty shaky to me.
Especially a man that size.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It'd be dangerous maybe to play him for the future. You might
And
wanna
I
just-
do think under the radar, the Clippers have found themselves. Remember, they lost Blake for 21 games and they lost Chris Paul for 21 games. They started off really hot. They went to Cleveland on December 1st and just crushed Cleveland at Cleveland. And 6 days later, they got left for dead by Golden State with Kevin Durant at the Clippers. And they never quite recovered because they had the injuries, but I loved how they finished the season. I would give them a chance to push this to 7 games in the second round.
I would like for despite what I said, I would like for these teams to play. I would like for us to have some exciting series. I just don't see it. But yeah, the Clippers have to do something.
So I did pick the Clippers before the season for 2 reasons, because I've picked the Spurs so hard the last 2 years. I didn't want to jinx them because I just keep beating the drum for them, and they just fell apart in the first rounds early.
That's not revisionist history.
No, I mean,
That's really why you picked the Clippers?
No. Well, and then the Spurs lost one of the greatest players ever, but the greatest Spur ever, Tim Duncan, and I didn't know how they were going to bounce back from that with Pau Gasol and David Lee, and they have shocked me. They were way better than I thought they were going to be. They got to 60 wins, and then Pop did it again. You weren't here when I went off on Pop, but I despise this. the way he takes his foot off the gas too soon, and they fell apart down the stretch. They lost 4 of their last 5, and they have lost their way. Golden State won 15 of its last 16, and they are roaring into the playoffs. Love how they finished, even adding Kevin late. But in this case, the Spurs are going to have a long, hard climb against Memphis. It's going to,
they're fortunate that Tony Allen's
out. I told him that's a big loss for them, or it could be devastating. But I think it's going to take 7 games, and if the Spurs can find their way again, the Spurs can beat Houston. They're just a bad matchup for Houston. They pick Houston's defense to pieces, and then here we go, Golden State versus San Antonio. And again, I'm going to do it by default. I just say if you can keep the games close, and the Spurs are capable of doing that, that they will have a pecking order problem down the stretch, just the way we saw on Christmas Day in Cleveland. You're up 14. Is it your turn or your turn to close? I don't know. Maybe you should shoot it. No, you should shoot it.
And
Is
they
it
haven't
Steph's
had
team?
many close games.
That's the problem.
why
You
it's
have
tough.
to keep them
And
close.
that gives you that.
Yeah, that's the thing. And the Cavaliers did last year in the series. Cavaliers held the Warriors to 15 points below their average. You can't let them get out to those 40-point quarters, because the 40-point quarter probably going to put you down by 20.
And you're
And
done.
you're done. You're done. But you can't get discouraged. I mean, if they go up by 10 points and Steph Curry is shimmying and Clay is holding up the 3 ball, hey, just come on back down and play defense. Try to pound them on the boards, because they're a tall team, but they don't have girth.
No,
I agree.
That's true.
So
and Cleveland really out-physicaled them.
that's what you got. You know, the King.
Will they do that again? You have confidence that they'll do that again.
King.
I know you're picking Cleveland, but I'm just saying the physical, because they're a different team.
Yeah.
The guys they added are softer, they're older, they're 3-point shooters. You know what I mean?
But you know what I like? I think the game that they lost, even though LeBron and Kyrie did not play against the Heat, Darren Williams found himself, because he looked like a different player. Now he turned the ball over a little bit. Still,
he found himself.
But he, hey.
35 is 35.
I mean, hey, he looked like D. Will trying to get to the bucket, pull it up from 3.
Part of the thing with D. Will, and this is can be the challenge of playing with LeBron. LeBron handles the ball a lot.
Yes.
That game, D. Will was like, I got the ball. I know I'm the point guard. I'm doing. And that's the challenge. Like, so when D. Will is in there with LeBron, they need to let D. Will be the point guard. And I think he'll be better.
Yeah. So, Chris, will you explain to him that there has to be some concern when over the last 46 games of the regular season, you go 23-23 and you're the defending champ? Something is wrong in there.
No, Shannon, this is my feeling, and this is not from a source. This is just looking at the situation. I really feel like the Cavs are like the rest of us. They're just as curious as the rest of us to see what Cavaliers team shows up in the playoffs. The fact that they sat LeBron and so many players the last week, when you knew you had to get it together, you weren't playing well. LeBron had sounded the alarm. Kyrie had sounded the alarm. Like, look, something's wrong. We need to get together. It looked to me like they were like, look, we've tried. Like, the last 3 weeks, we've been trying to play well, and it hasn't clicked. Mm-hmm. Let's just see if when the playoffs start, we were just bored. We'll flip the switch, and, we'll be ignited, and we'll show up like we know we can. I think they're wondering, just like the rest of us, which Cavaliers team shows up. The great one we think we can be, or is this kind of who we've become now?
Chris, will you let Skip know they still got the King of Akron?
I agree. That's the only reason, not even the only reason to give them a shot at winning the finals is just LeBron's greatness, and then Kyrie too. But let's face it, that's really the only reason we look at them as winning the East.
Yeah.
Because we haven't seen anything, to your point, over the last, 3 months to make us think they're the best team in the East. It's just we trust in LeBron.
Mm-hmm. I buy
LeBron,
that.
we trust.
And again, they just avoided 2 potential early pitfalls. They avoided the Heat and they avoided the Bulls. And those teams,
really think the Bulls?
The Bulls beat them 4 times out of 4 times.
You've watched. I've covered the NBA for more than 20 years.
I told you early in the year I like the Bulls.
I've seen teams get dominated in the regular season by
2011 Bulls dominated
exactly. The Heat. And then they just run through them in the play. Like, it doesn't. No, there's no way the Bulls
run through them. The king.
Miami with waiters. He is not
Waiters?
afraid. Yep.
With waiters?
Watch LeBron.
You didn't even say Whiteside or Dry. I like Dion.
He's the big shot maker.
Waiters was the one that turned the season
I
around.
like Dion, but come on.
So you
He's
agree with
big.
Van Gundy? We should just cut all this nonsense out and give him the trophy?
Well, if they avoid injury, if they avoid this, anybody, you don't think the Cavaliers felt like if we could avoid it, if we could have had Kyrie and Kevin Love healthy the first year,
Yeah.
you don't think they like their chances against the Golden State Warriors? But you got to factor all that in.
And the Cavs do have, I think you said, like, I wouldn't say a psychological edge over the Warriors, but there's,
They do.
mind
they're
control.
there.
I agree.
They
That
got
mind
just like
control.
the Spurs. I agree with
Thank
the Spurs
you.
have.
Uh-huh.
The Cavs don't want to see the Spurs.
We're
Not
not
that
gonna see
they
it.
couldn't beat them, but they don't want to see them.
I
They'd
wanna
much
see it.
rather see
Paper.
Golden
I wanna
Now
see
you
it.
want the Spurs.
I wanna
You
see
would
it.
rather
Paper
Golden
over
State.
rock.
No, I'd rather
Wouldn't you
see it.
rather go just
You would
just
much
see that
rather.
For
matchup?
history.
Just
You
for
can put,
history,
look
exactly.
here.
You're going to be in
When the-
trouble.
if
If a
the-
miracle happens in
You
the West,
wearing
you're in
Golden
trouble.
State colors.
The
Look at
king, when the king is 100% healthy,
Yeah.
the only team I think can take him down is the 92 Dream Team.
No mercy. This is the Skip and Shannon Undisputed podcast, where we're delivering you an unscripted, unfiltered, undisputed version of the biggest topics of the day's show. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, like us on Facebook at Undisputed on FS1, follow on Twitter at Undisputed, and catch us at 9:30 a.m. Eastern, 6:30 Pacific, Monday through Friday on FS1. You can find us on channel 219 on DirecTV, 150 on Dish. Thanks for listening, everybody. I'm your host, Joy Taylor. We leave all the debates there for today. I hope all of our listeners are out enjoying their own Dance Party Friday somewhere today. We're back next week, and we welcome back Lil Wayne to Undisputed. Also, for all the NBA fans out there this morning, I'm hosting a Facebook Live with Chris Broussard and Jason McIntyre. It'll be a lot of fun. Check it out on the FS1 Facebook page, facebook.com/Fox Sports 1. Have a great weekend.
Fox Sports 1 of 1 of 1.